Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show about video game movie reviews and sometimes news about Sonic and stuff. We're figuring it out as we go. My name is Ethan. With me here on this direct journey is Devin. How's it going?
I run circles around the competition, is what Nintendo would say in their
Right, who
meetings.
said that in the thing?
No one. I just pulled a Sonic quote there from
Okay.
thatonerule.com that has
Sure.
English and Deutsch
Really?
options. And it says quote Sonic quotes, and then it has a picture, like a meme, that says all girls are the same. Okay, bro, what's stopping you from dating a dude? And then it has Sonic doing like this,
Okay.
a little bit
I
of.
want to know what a Dutch Sonic quote is. Something like, we be having a serious problem.
Oh no,
but, like,
Deutsch, German. Don't get them
Oh,
confused
so
now.
then, sorry, I
It's
heard
easy
Dutch.
confusion.
All right. Well, there is a lot of confusion that could be had because, like, Devin, I thought we did, several the future of video games episodes recently. We did one that was kind of Xbox focused by circumstance. We did one that was PlayStation focused because of circumstance, and well, guess what? Nintendo was like, we got stuff to talk about too. So we're doing
But
another.
don't worry, folks.
Yeah.
Atari's next.
I would love if well, Atari does have one game that's coming out, but
We didn't
WayForward's
mention
making
Atari,
it,
I think,
and I'm like,
technically in the Xbox episode, but
yeah, because they bought in
you
television.
know,
Remember?
but we need a good like fourth one that is kind of cool. I guess
Google Stadia's coming back.
Google Stadia's back.
Ah.
We're gonna talk about Google Hangouts for 2 hours next week.
Yeah,
See you there.
I hated Google Hangouts. Hey, so yeah, this Nintendo Direct that aired a couple days ago on the 18th there. I think this was a banger of a Direct. I've seen a lot of Directs in my day. I've seen them all. And they range from ones that are like this to, hey, here's a deep dive on a game you don't actually care about, Ethan, for me, just talking about my personal experiences. But I think the overwhelming majority of them are what I described Summer Games Fest presentation that we had recently, where, like, here's a lot of games, and they are mostly not for you, individual audience member, but there's, like, maybe one or two that you do like, but the rest are like, yeah, take it or leave it, I don't really care. A lot of Nintendo Directs feel like that, where it's like, hey, Ethan, you will like this. Hey, so and so, you will like this. But I do not care about all of the other, things. This one was different
And
though.
I'm gonna say I unfortunately am now in the crowd of like, wow, it looks cool. I don't know if I'll ever have time to play it. Maybe one day. I'll play it in 5 years when it's on Steam for 30%
Yeah.
off or whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Where it's like, I mean, the Game Awards I think was the perfect example. This past one more specifically, right, where we streamed that whole thing and like I don't even remember any of it really. And we weren't under
All
the
I remember
influence either.
was we were completely wrong in our predictions. Even our easy layups were wrong. I was embarrassed. We did it on a live stream, and I was like,
Yeah.
come on, give us a point somewhere.
Yeah.
I think you
But that
won
one is
just
like-
because of a weird technicality, but it was like tied 0-0.
Yeah, we had like a tiebreaker. We're like, oh, we won't need this, and then it was
Right.
like, oh, no one got any points.
Yeah,
It was a 1-0 quadruple overtime like hockey game where it was just sad all around.
yeah. So this Nintendo Direct, what'd you think about it overall? Give me your overall thoughts about the stuff.
So I think it was about 40 minutes. Kind of felt like it at towards the end where I was like, oh, I thought they would end with Zelda. Like I thought, I'm like, okay, they're ending with Zelda. And then they added a couple more things. Then they ended with Metroid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Some of these things I don't know, like the kind of backstory of. Like I'm like, is this a big deal or not? I think I guess I'm out of touch compared to the other
Okay.
gamers, capital G gamers, but that's normal. I mean, I know I'm the fraud of this channel when it comes to this shit. But like, I was like, Nintendo World Championships, NES edition. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. But I'm like, is this a big deal? I don't know. Or like, there was like some games that are like, I think it was Marvel versus Capcom,
Oh.
where I was like, is this like, has there been a port of the? I feel like there has, but maybe I'm wrong. And I'm like,
There
is
was
this a big
we'll talk
deal?
about
Like,
it.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Um, I feel like I know probably Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, whatever you want to go. Yeah, 3. That's what it's called. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake. I can see how that's a big deal, especially if you're in Japan. Um, but I was like, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I'm like, I thought there was Luigi's Mansion 2 already, but then I'm like, is this a? It must be an older one. So it's like that kind of stuff where I'm like, I don't know if they're like these are like would be WoW because I'm not, I guess,
Okay.
knowledgeable enough. So I guess I don't know if that's a problem or an okay thing. I'm just not the target audience for that, I guess. Um, we got almost a Dino Crisis game out of this though. We got Turok, so that's
Right, right,
cool.
right, right, right. Are you gonna play it?
Probably not.
Well,
uh,
if you were to want to play Turok, there's an excellent remastered port by Night Dive on Steam and Switch and consoles. I'd
I've
probably recommend
seen
play
enough
that.
of it where it isn't my kind of style of game. I feel like, but maybe
Okay.
I'm wrong. Maybe I need to just play it to play it. The Jamboree, Super Mario Party Jamboree looks pretty cool.
That's the only one I spoiled for you in quotes because I knew you hadn't watched it yet. I was watching. I'm like, no, I need to tell him that there's a cool ass Mario
Yeah,
Party
I
game
still have the
coming out.
original one on Switch, and I still feel like I feel like I barely even like played all those mini games still. But I have played enough at like cousin's house, at my cousin's house or whatever when I went back in there in Germany last January there. Um, so like I've definitely played it, but even then I feel like I always had a high replayability, so I was kind of like surprised. I'm like, oh, and this one has like a lot more maps, and one of them was like fucking like just suddenly they kind of just dropped it like, oh yeah, you can go like 80 spaces with the car. I'm like, wait, hold the phone, like 80
Right, right.
spaces. I can't think that far ahead. So I thought that was
Well,
funny,
I
but I
think
love
that
that
was the
it's
highest
chaotic. Like,
possible, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
there's
gonna be
20
cool.
players in that one too, and we'll talk about that more. But yeah, that's interesting. Also, the other thing was like the Nintendo Switch Lite Hyrule Edition looks straight up like that 3DS or whatever that you used to have, like
Yeah, I
straight
have
up.
it. Yeah,
And
I
I'm
mean
like,
that's the
they
thing.
just
There's
did
been
it
a lot
again.
of Zelda hardware bundles, and it's gold and the Triforce is on it every single time. There are some exceptions, but yes, I saw that too. And after I watched the direct, I watched a couple other people's watch along things from some channels that I like, where I wanted my own raw opinions, and then I got theirs, and every one of those because I watched three different people channels like I kind of skimmed through, but still, and all of them they're marking out like crazy. I'm like, is it really that interesting? I mean, like if you didn't own a Switch Lite and you wanted a Switch Lite for a
Yeah,
specific reason,
they're trying to get that
there you
last
go.
little
But
like drip out of the Switch pipe because the Switch Super Nintendo Switch is what we're calling it. Coming out late next year probably, right? They're trying to get every last drop and hopefully
they're trying to
you
clear
buy
out
it.
inventory. Here's a
Yeah,
special.
you buy
We just,
it, you
we
buy it.
painted the shell differently, but the internals are obviously the same, right? Yeah, let's start
Yeah,
clearing out stock so our warehouse can fill in with the Switch, Super Switch,
Super
inventory.
Switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was some surprises, I guess. Like Lego Horizon Adventures. I guess I just missed the memo that I was coming to Switch.
Yeah.
Unless that
That
was,
was that,
you
that
know.
was announced at the state of play that it was like coming to
But
Switch.
and I know you're probably gonna want to talk about Metroid, but we'll get there. But which I think we've seen before was first announced 2017 according to this Polygon article. So like I said, there was some like missing context I feel like I didn't have. So I don't know if I was like supposed to be like, oh my god, that's hype. But I think it's a good thing though in a way for like at least for this conversation that I feel like you've watched them all. I've watched probably the majority of them. I wouldn't say I've watched every single one. There's definitely times I think, I've like you said, you've watched someone else kind of react to it, and if I just happen to be at the right time, right place, I will. Um, but yeah, we can go through it. But there's one game, couple games, I guess I would say I'm interested in. But like I said at the top, I don't know. We'll see if I actually play them.
We'll figure this out together then. The first thing announced was a new Mario and Luigi game. When that trailer first started and you saw Peach's castle in the background, and then Luigi pops out, I'm like, oh, is this the art style for a new 3D platforming Mario? No, it's a new entry in one of Mario's many RPG series called Mario and Luigi. This game looked great. I have not played. So there have been 5 Mario and Luigi games and 2 remakes in its series. I've only ever played the original because David had it and he let me borrow it on Game Boy Advance. I do not even know if he even remembers that he even played that game.
No. So I should say I watched this with David because he was here in person. And we just coincidentally had the time to watch this. And he called it out. He's like, I think this is looks like a remake or a sequel to he couldn't remember what it was, and then he was like Mario and Luigi Brothership, I think it was called, and then it popped up.
Yeah, the one he had was Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance.
Something like that. He knew what it was.
Because
the title.
That's the cool thing is that the art, it's the key art that they had those characters drawn in Mario and Luigi and everyone, so like it does look recognizable as so. Well, I'm glad he actually he recognized it because he had that game and I'm like, I'd never heard of this before, and David has a Mario game I've never heard of. How is this? We were like in 5th grade at the time. Maybe no, it would have been 6th grade, but not that matters to the audience, the discrepancy between 5th and 6th. But
at this point, it's been almost 20 plus years.
Yeah. So this is a new game. I like that a lot of the characters have like sockets and plugs and stuff. Like literally, the bad guys are called the Extension Core. That's just kind of a neat little pun.
I'm gonna be a little bit of a hater on the design. I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it. I can't really like. And I know the last couple episodes here, I've been kind of. I don't want to come across as like a graphics like nerd. Like, the graphics look bad. 'Cause I don't think it looks bad. I just don't like the art design personally. Just ain't my like taste. Okay. So I'm not gonna say like it sucks. I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know, that ain't Mario, bro. That ain't my guy.
I was always a Paper Mario kid. And Paper
that's
Mario
what I thought it was.
I
thought it was at first. I thought it was like a weird like 3D Paper Mario. Like that's the effect it gave me, and I was just like, this is interesting. But yeah, go ahead.
One thing that Mario and Luigi, those games have always done, which I find cool, is it's turn-based combat, but it's a little bit active. Like, you are pressing A and B, or in this case, it looks like X and Y, to individually time Mario and Luigi's attacks and also dodging enemy attacks and whatnot. Like, you can just straight up not get hit in a lot of fights if you are, like, doing things correctly. And they have, very cartoonish team-up attacks where, like, this is the series, where, like, they really do stretch, like, the cartoony physics of, like, squashing and stretching and whatnot. Like they show a part where like Mario in like just an overworld grabs onto like this handlebar thing and Luigi yanks down on his feet and they both like spring up on top of the ledge together. Like very, very goofy.
Very cartoony.
This is
Looney Toony.
They were funny games. Like the one David had, which is the only one I played, but I've seen people talk about the others and I've seen footage of the other games. Very funny. Like same thing with Paper Mario. Like very, very funny. So, moving on. Nintendo World Championships NES edition. They did announce this a couple months ago. This seems neat to the people that care enough. I kind of went through an NES phase a decade ago where I really liked those games, and I am not as jazzed whenever I see anything that uses them again. But on the Wii U, there was 2... NES remix games. They're like, here's bite-sized challenges from each of these games. No, you cannot play the full games themselves. Just challenges within them. And like, I bought both of those. They were digital, and I kind of played them a bit, but like, it felt too sluggish and slow, and a lot of the challenges were uninspired. There was some cool things in there. This is a continuation of that, but like, it looks like they got it down of like, okay, it was just a focus on speedrunning, because like, that's like, what people actually like stream these old games for nowadays is usually speed running or cool tricks that they're doing. That's so like, well, let's make a game that's about that. Looks neat. I don't think I'll get it personally.
It's one of those games that are like, I think it's just like he said, like I feel like you have to have experience with these games to, I feel like, probably get the enjoyment out of it.
And I doubt that they'll let you play those games in there. It's just the parts that they want.
Yeah.
Because they still want you to buy,
Yeah, that was
online
interesting. The
subscriptions.
kind of head-to-head, almost like what was it called? Tetris 99 kind of like layout,
Mm,
right? Where it
yeah.
like you're on screen, but then like the other ones are on screen, or you can affect other people's stuff. It's like a battle royale. It's kind of how I feel like it was advertised. That one game mode, at least, which kind
But
of
here,
looked
no.
cool.
Here's
But
the
once
thing, though.
again, but once again,
Those
it's
were
like I'm
ghost
not good
data on your
enough.
players. You weren't playing. They weren't playing against other players live. That was ghost data. So it was other people's speed runs that they then mark in there.
Mm,
At least that's
that's not as
they
fun then.
literally talk about the ghost data stuff while they showed that on screen. Maybe that's a coincidence. I think it'd be crazy if like we both got it and we couldn't play against each other online. I think that would be crazy, but maybe they're like,
I
hey,
just thought
maybe
the
it doesn't really
concept was
matter.
cool of like, okay, 100 people log in, to play this one Mario level, right? And I think that's kind of cool. The only issue, like I said, for me is like half these games I haven't played, and this isn't going to be the way I go into them. And as much as I'd be cool to like challenge other people, I don't know how they're going to like know your skill level. Like I don't know how the matchmaking would be. If it is even
Right.
head to head, like you said, it could be just ghost data. I don't want to, I don't know. I think it might not be as fun anymore if it's someone like me who sucks at these kind of older games typically,
Well, if you really
you know.
want, because you have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription for Mario Kart 8 stuff, you got all those games on there. Get cracking.
I did
You
play
don't have to.
what's it called? The football game when I
Tecmo
first
Bowl.
moved here. Techno Ball. I got pretty far in it. It got really hard. But that's like out of all the NES ones, that's kind of the only one that like really
It is
like
one of
I
the most
put a
popular NES games in America.
yeah.
I feel like if you were to poll people like our parents' age about like NES games, they would say Mario, Zelda, Contra, maybe Castlevania, but certainly Tecmo Bowl. Those would be like
Yeah.
the
It's
games
a
they
fun
would say.
game. It doesn't work how actual football works, but it's still fun. It was a good arcade kind of. I can see
Yeah.
why it was probably popular at the time, especially if you're playing against, your friends or whatever, where you can
A football game in general. Be like, hey, you like football?
strategize.
Here is a video game about your interest. Back then,
Yeah.
not nowadays. There's a yearly sim games on every sport. It doesn't feel as novel to be like, here's a game about the thing you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But okay. So after that, there was a Fairy Tale 2. I mean, just skip on by this. I'll just say I watched this anime a decade ago in college, and I didn't like it, but I kept watching it. It sucked.
I don't know
So
anything about it. I
I will
can't.
say
Yeah, I don't
I find it
know.
funny that it's called Fairy Tale 2 because I feel like any anime game, it's always like Dragon Ball Z, Budokai 3, Taichi, blah blah blah, Naruto, Superstorms of the Ultimate, One Piece, Omega, Comrades, and Communism or whatever. Like, just call it like it's like as if they called it like I don't know Naruto 2. Unless this is a sequel to the anime, which I guess would be actually kind of dope for those fans. I don't know. It looked
Yeah, I
terrible.
don't know anything about it. Definitely has the art style of a lot of like early 2000s anime, so I guess that's cool. But yeah, I don't know. We're not the target audience for that. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Next up, a game I am interested in. I wouldn't say excited for because I really don't know, but Fantasian, Neo Dimension. This is, yes, by Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. This is a game that came out a few years ago as an Apple Arcade exclusive. It uses pre-rendered backgrounds that are photographs on dioramas that are built, which is a cool thing, in my opinion.
hmm
Um, that's all I knew about it. It came out, and I'm not sure if I didn't hear about it because it was whatever, or if it because it was on Apple Arcade and just no one gave a shit. I hope it's the latter because like I am interested in getting this just because I'm curious. And
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that Square Enix of all companies is the one that he turned to help port it to other consoles. But yeah, it looks like
Yeah, I was gonna.
it could
I
tickle
had
my
a note
interest or
on.
not.
I had a note on my phone, also saying about like the photo backgrounds. I do like that of old games. Is the back then obviously that was just they were constricted by their what they had, but I do miss that kind of the element of creating depth or just embracing the fact, yep, this is a fucking JPEG you're walking over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really
Final
cool.
Fantasies,
Definitely.
Resident Evils, Dino Crisis, all that's cool. And like, yeah, like that was a big boom on like the PlayStation because all of a sudden your file sizes could be a lot higher than on a Super Nintendo cartridge, right? So like, yeah, of course, let's just have like 5 dudes with expensive workstation computers using Silicon graphics, model out environments, and then just essentially take GIFs or screenshots and just have that be the backgrounds that you walk around with the 3D character model. And
it's kind of a lost art in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish. So I think I'm curious from just like the kind of art direction, the game direction, on that alone. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
One benefit that I guess I could say is that like in terms of games I probably won't play. At least with the Switch, I try to get a new game every time I travel, just to get, even if it's cheap, whatever, just to try something else. I always have Vampire Survivors now in my back pocket, but
if you know you need
hey,
to turn 6 hours into 6 minutes, you can.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks cool. Looks interesting.
Yeah.
But the one guy does look kind of like, when I first saw him, I'm like, he's kind of like 2B. I just thought fucking near. Yeah.
Definitely, I recognized it right away, but that's because I'm a loser. But
hey, I recognized it too. So we're losers together then.
Next up, an update for Nintendo Switch Sports, which I forgot existed. It sold pretty well. Basketball is now on Nintendo Switch Sports.
Michael Jordan is here.
A little curious looking at how it works. It looks like it's very much simple commands of like, all right, advance. All right, pass. All right, go for a shot. Like, you're not moving your guy around. It looks like
Too
it's
much.
just
because
it like almost like, remember Wii Tennis, where like you just controlled the racket. Your characters moved, to try to on their own. That's what I think is happening here. I haven't played Nintendo Switch Sports. I don't own it.
I forgot it existed too. I should have just got it by now because I like
the idea of playing it. Just the whole game.
Yeah, I do like I didn't own a Wii. One of the few people on this planet that didn't own a Wii. Yeah. My freaking grandma owned it. And I remember, that like she never bought any games really for it because she just liked the Wii Sports the most. And like every time I was over, I would play it, And
it is one of the best games on that system.
Yeah,
and it, came with it for 80% of the system sold. In the later years, they replaced it with Mario Kart, which obviously is a better sell, for kids especially. But,
yeah, but no,
cool, free update.
I didn't know. Yeah, I gotta maybe look into see how much this is to the regular one. I'm assuming it's a free update because I'll shoot some hoops this summer.
Yeah. The physical one comes with a leg strap for the soccer game, where you put the thing in the leg strap on your leg for shootouts. So I don't know if the digital one is slightly cheaper or not, because I know you.
Hey, you know what? You know what you can do is you get the Ring Fit, play the Ring Fit game as your workout.
I want that.
And then
that sold like 8 million copies or some crazy amount.
Yeah,
when COVID
Bryn wants
hit.
it too. Bryn, that's like one of the few games that Bryn's like, I want that. I'm like, maybe one day, because I know it's a little pricier.
But it comes with the freaking ring, so of course it's like $80 or something.
Yeah. But hey, you can be like, every NBA player, you put your workout in, then you have to shoot 500 buckets straight before you go to bed every night. Maybe you can.
Jesus, do people
be the
do
next
that?
LeBron James?
Like make or shoot?
I don't know.
Because there's a big difference there between you don't get to go to bed unless you make 500 baskets, or just to try.
Maybe not 500, but I could see like 50.
Ugh.
If you're like a young kid, maybe. But I don't know. I feel like the NBA players, how accurate they are, I feel like they probably still do like a good 200 shots per practice, I would imagine.
Hey, did you see, speaking about young kids, that child do the 900 on a skateboard 3 times in a row back to back?
I did see that.
A lot of people were like, oh, it's easy, because like Tony Hawk did it. He was like 35 or some shit. Oh, it's easier for the kid because he's really small. Like, it's still a crazy feat for a child to do. You give it to them.
I think it's more impressive because, like, I don't know. I just feel like
kid was like 12.
Kids have less time to practice because they're whatever age they are. He had been doing that since he was like fucking 2.
Right.
if
Now
it's not easy, go do it.
I want to see a dog on a skateboard, a little pit bull on a skateboard do that. All right, next up, Mio Memories in Orbit. Just came and went. To me, this looks like a Hollow Knight type of thing. I have no
It
real
started
interest
off
in it.
as what I thought was going to be one of those like 3 hour like narrative experiences, which nothing against those games. I get it. They're cool to look at and have a good story typically, and they're, something you see on Steam for $15 or on the Switch for $5. So that's what I thought it was at first, but then once they showed a little bit more like gameplay towards the end, I'm like, okay, this might be a little bit longer of a game. Still probably won't get more than, I would imagine, like 20 hours, but
Yeah,
I think it's one of those games you get on Switch, like I said, and then you
it
casual
looked
game.
cool. It looked cool, but it just didn't grab me. But not every game will, and sometimes they grab me later. If that makes sense, something
In
like
your
that.
sleep, you
Yeah,
wake up
yeah.
in the middle of the night, and the game is sitting on your chest, lurking over you. Yeah.
Next up, Disney Illusion Island is getting a free update. That is, I will say, the only interesting thing about this game, because it came out already, is that it's a Metroidvania game without any combat. So it's supposed to be like a family-friendly multiplayer, explore together type of game. That is valuable in and of itself. I do not care about the brand of Mickey Mouse and Friends
How
beyond
dare
Kingdom
you?
Hearts. I don't care about Donald Duck. Yeah, that makes sense. So, when I see like the freaking dolphin with like stubble, I'm like, okay, I don't know who the hell you are supposed to be. What Disney character are
I
you?
do like. I hate to say it because I'm also try to be a Disney hater sometimes. But Disney owns everything now that I like, so I guess I can't be. But I do like the logo. I know that's like you
Oh,
said,
I
this
like the
game's already
logo.
came out.
It reminds me of like a Disneyland like marquee, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's a good ass font right there.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, obviously, I think it was also inspired by like Cuphead. Cuphead obviously was. I
sure.
think Cuphead does sometimes doesn't get enough credit for its kind of. No matter what you say about like the game, like gameplay wise, like just in terms of its art style, being like, hey, this is possible to do. This kind of. I mean, I know like you can argue that like games like Mortal Kombat early on kind of had a similar idea, right, with taking photos and
Yeah.
using that as your animation. This being, I'm assuming, hand drawn to a degree, or whether in a computer or on paper. So I got to point to Cuphead for this.
Yeah. I imagine it's on computer, but it certainly isn't trying to be generic looking Disney. It's just not grabbing me either. But you know what is grabbing me? The game of the show, Hello Kitty Island
I
Adventure.
was gonna joke about it, but you know me, I'm now like
Another
Hello
Apple
Kitty
Arcade
fan.
game, by the way. This was another Apple Arcade game that's now finally getting to leave. I'll just say
Oh
this,
man,
I work with kids, and one of these kids, she really likes a Sanrio character named Cinema Roll. He is in the background there in this photo, right in front of the sun. He's got big floppy ears.
oh I
This
see
the
him.
marquee art we're seeing. And because of that, somehow I found on Twitter, Sanrio does a popularity poll every year. They poll people like, "What's your favorite Sanrio character?" This motherfucker Cinnamon Roll has won 9 out of 10 times in the past decade.
Wow.
So Hello Kitty needs to get her ass out of there because apparently there's a new guy in town. But yeah, it looks like obviously they're like, let's just make Animal Crossing, with
Straight up.
our
There's
characters.
another Animal Crossing game in this direct as well, like straight up again.
Yeah.
But no, dude, out of all the games on this list, except maybe Donkey Kong, we'll get to it. Uh, I don't know why, but maybe it's because I'm going to Japan in like a month and a half. I'm like, that's my Disney. You talking about Disney earlier? We got Disney fans. I'm locked in. I'm buying into the Hello Kitty stock. I get it now.
I have
I
a
get it
face
now.
mask that is from 2010 of the penguin guy.
Hell yeah.
Not
Hell
to
yeah.
make it look like it's his face, but like it's just printed with him on it or whatever. Yeah.
I want to know how good this game will be, though, but I don't give a fuck because I already got
I
Hello Kitty
Kart
cart
Racer?
for $3 on Switch. Kart
Nice.
Racer, and oh boy, is that game not polished, but it's a little bit better than Mario Kart because guess what? You don't just drive, you boat and you fly. Yeah,
It's just like Diddy Kong Racing on the Nintendo 64. You had an aircraft and you had a plane, like a hovercraft on the water, and you had a plane. Okay.
Yeah,
Speaking
I'm
about
in. Why
everyone's
not?
favorite beloved characters, one of the
I just
worst
realized
looking
there's
games of
like
the
you have
show.
like different like you have Disney, you have Hello Kitty, and then you have Looney Tunes. That's kind of funny. They
Yeah,
put them
Warner
all kind
Bros.
of put them together there.
Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. This looks terrible. I'm just gonna straight up say it. It looks bad. It looks like they're trying to do like 3D character models in a cell shaded art style to make them look flat, but they fail. I've seen
Yeah, the art
failed
style's pretty
attempts at
brutal.
this. Um,
Um,
Also, these
but you know
guys are
what? If I
real old, like the voice actors. So when Porky Pig says this thing at the end, I'm like, "You sound like you're dying. You sound like you don't sound like."
I will
Porky
say
Pig.
this though. I will say this though. If someone got it for me for a gift, I'd play
Okay.
it.
Okay. You
I'd
hear
give it a
that, folks
shot.
out there? Send it to PO Box. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, that's my
Um,
PO box.
yeah, this
Because
comes
I think
out
this kind of
in the
fits in
fall.
the I feel like this kind of fits in the Wii Sports thing though. I feel like they kind of conflict. I mean, but whatever. You know
What
what I
I'll
mean?
say,
Like
back in the PlayStation 2 era, we got a lot of arcadey sports games that weren't trying to be
Shrek.
sim games or anything like that. Like I have a copy in the other room in a tote of NBA Street Volume 2, a
Hell
basketball
yeah.
game. I played that. I loved that game because it was just a fun basketball thing. It wasn't trying to be a simulation game. You know what I mean? Or it
We need
wasn't trying
more
to get all like
arcade
the
sports
athletes and
games.
the
So
regulation and all that.
I guess I should
So
cheer for this then.
more cool. I'm calling the idea of a wacky world of sports cool, regardless of if it's actually good or not. You know, more of them like that. More fun.
Wasn't there? I said Shrek earlier, but now I'm like second guessing. I think that
Oh,
was
I'm sure
actually
there
like
was a Shrek Sports something or other.
I think it was a Shrek.
There's a Shrek
brawler.
Mario Party clone.
I think it was a Shrek brawler. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. The Shrek Mario Party. We should play that on stream.
I'm just gonna throw this out here. I have a spreadsheet of every Mario Party and Mario Party like game, and I've wanted to do streams or plays.
Well, you can
of all
bump
of
the
those
Shrek
games.
one. You
The
can bump the
there are,
Shrek one.
I think there are two. If I remember correctly, there are two Shrek.
We can
games.
play it for Shrek's
So,
next anniversary.
yes. Next up, Among Us as guys in it. This is what accidentally leaked the direct itself. Because I guess they uploaded this video ahead of time.
Good for them. Good for
But,
them.
yeah. Hey, they're making their
Who
money.
would have thought? They wouldn't have thought that in 2019 or whatever.
No.
That
And hey, I don't because I
that
don't know
their
if you
game would
watched
have
Summer
leaked a
Game
Nintendo
Fest.
Direct.
I don't think I talked about it, but the Among Us people came on stage and said like, "Hey, we made a shit ton of money, and now we're investing all that money in other indie games. So we made an initiative just to fund other indie games that we don't own. It's all on like the terms from what Twitter was saying are very generous for the actual people receiving the money. So I support them. Not financially.
No,
I, haven't bought
I play Among Us.
but,
I play Among Us once a year, probably with like some folks. And every time I come back, I'm like, oh my god, there's way too much new shit, and I'm always overwhelmed.
Hey,
But it is a
do
fun
as a
game.
stream
It
one
is a
day.
fun game if you have enough people to play with. I think it's not as fun, personally, playing with just regular folks online.
Oof.
Yeah, so
You know, Devin, if you were to play Among Us randomly online, someone's bound to call you a slur like Farmagia. That
You're from
sounds
the
like
farm.
what the Pope has been saying,
You're-
apparently.
you're from the farm. You're a Farmagia. I know
Look
you.
all these Farmagias over there. Yeah. This looked weird and not interesting to me.
Dude,
the
he's just trying to
dude's
be
name is
Pokemon
10.
and Yu-Gi-Oh at the same
And
time.
Monster Rancher, remember that on PlayStation? You put different
Yeah.
CDs in your thing and you got guys. It was very weird.
They should do that in
no
real
interest.
life, though. By the way, that'd be kind of cool. For all the CDs I have, that'd be pretty nice if someone made a machine that like would retroactively. I get a guy out of it. That'd be kind of cool.
It's made by
But yeah.
Marvelous. They're a Japanese company that makes just weird C-tier video games, and they survive, and that's cool that they survive, but I don't think I've ever played a Marvelous game that interests me.
This is for the. Yeah, to me, this is like a very niche group of people. I feel like it's like, hey, you like Yu-Gi-Oh, kind of, but you also
your
like
cozy
Stardew
farming
Valley,
games?
and
Yeah.
you need something cozy. Well, we got you.
What if you farmed Pokemon? That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Next up, we'll just skip this Donkey Kong thing. We have Dragon Quest. No,
No.
Donkey
No,
Kong
no, no,
Country
no, no. Come on,
Returns
no.
HD.
Come on,
Um,
no.
this looks like a
Game of the
not
year
just.
contender.
I'm glad you're excited. Well, it's next year, 2015, because it's January
I
16th.
literally told David that when we were watching it, it said January. I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I don't have time. I'm like, don't come out like next week.
I'm glad you're excited.
longer
Yes,
the better.
this is, by the time it comes out, it'll be almost 15 years since the original Wii version, which came out, I think, in the summer of 2010.
Mm.
It's not a remake or anything like that. It is just an HD port. However, they did some things to it, because I saw, that game itself opens up with Donkey Kong beating the shit out of one of these tiki guys in the Kong hut.
It
So you
looks
see
like they're
bong,
beating
bong,
a
bong,
shit,
bong.
but the way it's bouncing, it could be another thing.
It could be that as well. I saw shot by shot comparison of that with the Wii original, and there's some more shadows going on. Like and the colors saturated a little bit. Like they touched it up, but it's not a remake. It is just a port.
It looks nice
but,
though. It does look nice.
It was a very good game.
It'll be new to me. I guess I call myself a Donkey Kong fan, but I haven't played many of them. But I did play the one where you grab on the was it the DS where you have to use the left and right,
King of Swing, I think,
something like
or
that.
DK Jungle.
Because my brother at the time, I think it was Jungle Climber. At the time, my brother couldn't beat it, and he asked me, and then I wound up like really liking it. I'm like, I'm just gonna play this whole game again.
Yeah, because you're right. It was just L and R a lot, right?
Yeah, it was cool. It was a fun game for that kind of, mobile kind of thing.
Interesting.
But no, I mean, to me, like Donkey Kong Country is one of the first games I ever played as a kid on my Game Boy. Never could get past the mine level, but I'm so back. If it, this is basically to me like a remaster in that way. So
yeah,
it has original music and all that. So I'm in. So.
Yeah.
I'll probably
Donkey
get this one.
Country Returns is made by Retro Studios, the makers of Metroid Prime. This is what they made after Metroid Prime 3. This is essentially your Donkey Kong Country 4. So there was 3 made by Rareware back on the Super Nintendo, and then ported to Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. That's how you got into it. Rareware, after Donkey Kong Country 3, they made a lot of Nintendo 64 games, including Donkey Kong 64. I've never played it. Heard it's infamous. I've never played it, obviously, but this is how it's been described to me and how it visually looks. Imagine if because you played Super Mario Odyssey, so you'll be in like a level. It's like a big wide open space. You have all these moons in different places to find and collect. What if there was maybe twice as many moons, and a lot of them are different colors, and only certain characters can collect that moon, even if you can walk through it. Like, why can't I pick up this red banana? Well, you need to be this character. But I can touch the red banana. Why can't I just grab it now? Like, so many collectibles in Donkey Kong 64 that people were like, this isn't that great. But then, Retro Studios on the Wii made this, and I played it a lot on Wii. I 100%ed it. It's a really, really good game. And then Retro made Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for Wii U in 2014.
Which I wanted to get at some point.
Which has a Switch port. Yeah. Well,
but
get
then,
this one first. This is the first one they did. You might as well wait if you wanted to get both to get this one first. But cool that's happened.
Yeah.
I will say this. I had a watch on this, and I'm like, I have no interest in getting it because I've already played this game, and like, some old games, I'm like, yes, I do want to revisit this on a modern platform, but like this one, I'm like, I don't need to. I already played it, but and it had me realize something I've thought about before, but like Nintendo's foreseeable future is going to be, here are a few new games that are maybe a couple games that are really big, like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Metroid Prime 4. We'll get to that. And then like here are some AA games that are cool, like Nintendo Switch Sports and some of these other ones that were charging for $60, which is healthy for their business and the industry.
Or Bayonetta, I
believe
think
that.
maybe would be another good example, maybe.
And then like a lot of like ports, remasters, and like touch-ups. Like that's just their forever slate. We're like, cool, about a third of our lineup is going to be stuff that already exists. And I kind of had the realization, like, man, this game isn't that old. Does it really need to? But like, there's a lot of kids that have never played this game, and like, they're not going to get a Wii and play this. Just because I played it on the Wii back in the day doesn't mean, you know. So it is valuable in and of itself that, like, yes, it is back for other people to play. It's a little bit different to me than like when we get like the virtual console stuff where like, here's this Game Boy Advance Metroid game, and you know, I see people freaking out about it. I'm like, buddy, I'm sorry, but you don't need a Game Boy Advance to play that. You can play it on your computer or your phone with no issues. It's not any different. But hey, if you're worried, there's a legal way to play it. But I'm glad you got your Donkey Kong. I will say this. I was pretty certain that another studio that Nintendo has contracted many times in the past to make and remake some of Nintendo's famous properties, I thought they were making a Donkey Kong game because they had like a studio tour / we're hiring kind of website, and on some blurry screens they were clearly making jungle trees, and I'm like, they obviously always work with Nintendo.
They still could, right?
No, because their game was announced today as well. We'll get to that. Next up, Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, as well as Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. Very cool.
I've never heard of this before. Like, I feel like because most like remakes we get, right, have been like Resident Evil, where they're 3D, right? So I'm just like, how do you make a 2D remake? You know what I mean? I feel like I mean, I can see that
art and you make
yeah. So I feel like they kind of showed it, and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't think about that you could do 2D remakes. So I thought it was interesting.
Looks gorgeous.
It looks cool. I'm not gonna lie. And I kind of want to like. I wish this was coming out.
This is coming to PlayStation, and other consoles.
I wish it was coming out now, though, just because when I go to Japan, I'm going to.
The neck of Dragon Quest.
No, I'm going to. There's an amusement park where there's a big Godzilla, like, section where you can fly into his mouth on a zip line. You shoot Godzilla. There's like a Godzilla museum and stuff. But the main, I guess most of the park though has a lot of Dragon Quest shit in it. So I was like, man, I would play that. So I would know more when I go there.
If you really, really need to get your Dragon Quest fixed, Dragon Quest 11 is on Switch. That's the newest one. But this does look really cool. Yeah, Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, and 4 were NES games. Yeah, a lot of people say 3 is one of the best ones. I know the movie we watched is based off of 5, which a lot of people say is like the best one. That's like the Final Fantasy 7 of Dragon Quest.
And just a reminder for myself, because it's been a minute, that's the one where the two kids go back or they think they die. Or is that Dragon Quest? No, Dragon Quest is the one where the whole time you're playing it, and at the end
it was like
the
a
big
VR
plot
game
twist
or whatever.
Yeah.
That obviously wasn't in the video game itself.
What am I thinking of with the?
I think you're thinking of Ni no Kuni.
Yeah, that's what it was. Ni no Kuni. They had kind of similar art styles in my head, so
for sure. Yeah, I am excited. I'm a big Square Enix mark, so I will get this. Not on Nintendo Switch. I like my PlayStation trophies. Sorry. Folks out there that care. But I'm not going to get it right away, but I am interested in it. And yeah, turn-based RPGs, especially with the top-down perspective line like that, work really well on handhelds. Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy had many ports to Game Boy Advance and the like. I know Dragon Quest 3 specifically had a really great Game Boy Color port. So the Switch
and these are all like separate, right? It's like Final Fantasy where they're technically like not.
Yes and no. From my understanding, 3 is a prequel to the world of 1 and 2. So I think they're kind of grouped up in that. At least the early ones.
It might be okay to play Dragon Quest 3 then.
In fact, the Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii, I think that's his name, is the guy who's holding the slime at the end of this. Literally
Yeah.
recommends you play 3, then 1, then 2. Um, they're also releasing in that order, so 1 and 2 are like it looks like they're in a package together, but like they're
Yeah,
one
it says
game.
3 is November 14th. Just too late for my trip. Then Dragon Quest 1 and 2 will come in 2025, which when it says that, that could be over a year from now. You know,
Right.
it could be holiday 2025, for all we know. So,
Yeah, yeah. Next up, another game of the show, everyone's favorite
I mean, everyone.
collectibles. It's crazy. Funko
Wow.
Fusion. It's crazy how this key art looks 20 times better than the visuals in the game that preceded
Yeah.
the. It looks awful, in a way that seems embarrassing to anyone that likes Funko Pops. I get it; they're trying to do a Lego type of thing where like we have a few different character archetypes for gameplay, and then we just socket all these dudes into them. When the
We have
Nintendo Direct
Five Nights
voice
at
guy,
Freddy's.
yay! When the Nintendo Direct voice guy is like, "Whoa, is it Jaws?" and then He-Man, and then he's like, "And Great Scott, is that Marty McFly?" I'm like, "How is that Marty McFly from back?" I can't even tell. I can't tell. They have these generic faces. Which is also how they avoid paying for actors' likenesses because it's just the
I
property.
mean, the Chris
not
Pratt
the...
one I think looks pretty decent, or like the Invincible
Okay.
dude, whatever his name is. And
Sure,
Jaws
he's got a
is pretty
recognizable
spot on.
costume, but come
Uh,
on.
No, I mean, I at first when they showed it, I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously whatever for me. But like, it would be cool if they did the um amiibo route, right, where you like retroactively you can be like, hey,
Um,
I don't know how they would
sure.
do that, but you know what I mean, like maybe you get an
Well, the whole
activation
thing about
code.
Funkos are they're like $8. They're really cheap. That's why they
Yeah.
sold so many of them because like be like, oh cool, a collectible about this thing I like. Oh cool, I can get a few of them because they're that cheap. Compared to like you have your God of War Nendroid somewhere in that room, or maybe
Yeah.
somewhere in the house. Like that is cool figures of the same almost kind of scope, but those are like $50. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot to them versus the cheapness. So like I don't want to be a big hater of Funkos, but like I have no interest in
I have
anything.
one, like I've gotten them for like a Christmas gift or whatever. Like I have an Alien Xenomorph one from the first movie. I have one that isn't that, but someone like modeled up a Papa Emeritus from the band Ghost, so they're not part of it. So it was like someone like
Okay.
made one. So I'm like, at least
No.
like people are using them to like make their own things out of it, which I think
Sure.
is cool. But I heard that Funkos are like one of the biggest, like in terms of toys, not gonna say of all products, but one of the biggest like toy companies that have like the most waste because so many get thrown away, unfortunately.
I heard that they throw out products they never sold. Like straight from the warehouses.
Yeah,
So.
it's nowhere compared to grocery stores when it comes to fucking like yogurt
Absolutely.
or something like that, or
But
bread.
hey,
But
I'd rather have a grocery store exist than a Funko factory.
yeah,
So I guess
of
you
course.
know, one seems more useless than the other. But
no, I was just gonna
I
say
agree.
in terms of like toy companies, I heard they're one of the worst when it comes to that stuff. At least like, I know there's a you know, some places that will like, you know, or some companies will like, you know, just wind up making it on sale and just to get rid of inventory or donate them, whatever it is. There's a place called Second and Charles here in Denver in Colorado. That's actually where I got you the D&D calendar,
Okay.
and that other board game, because most of that stuff is like, because I just got an Alien game from there, board game. It was like $35 retail price, but it was $15, and it was actually a really fun game. It's pretty hard though.
Okay.
But the reason I bring this up is like, I know they have like a section of like Funko Pops, but basically I think how they like those places work is like, oh, this product was opened or returned, but it's like pretty good condition. They'll give it to them and they'll sell it for $15 or whatever, like I said.
Cheaper.
So there's a lot of pre-owned stuff,
Okay.
but like the Alien one I got, like yeah, the box itself didn't have a plastic covering on it, but when I opened it, this is after I bought it too, I was like, oh, whatever condition it is, $15, whatever. I opened it, everything else was sealed. like brand new. So I was like, I gotta fucking steal. I feel like it's just
That's
the
like
box.
an outlet
You know
mall,
what I mean?
type
Yeah.
of thing.
But I do know there's like a lot of like, I know GameStop also has a lot of Funko Pops too of like game
and
stuff.
bookstores too, which makes me sad. It's just like this is what we need to do to survive, like just to get people's asses in the door.
No one wants to read anymore, folks. They're listening
yeah.
to podcasts now.
Like the Sonic movie show. Next on the agenda, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I'm glad that they're calling it Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, because for folks that might not remember, Luigi's Mansion 2 was a Nintendo 3DS game. It's a Nintendo 3DS game, but in America, and only America, like North America rather, instead of calling it 2, it was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. But in like Australia and Europe, it was Luigi's Mansion 2, and in Japan, it might have been called Luigi's Mansion 2 with a subtitle. I don't know, but they announced this already. This comes out in like a week or two, so
June 27th. It's literally next week.
Yeah, so a week as of the time of this recording.
I keep saying I want to play these, and I actually have never got one. I don't know why I don't commit to it. Maybe it's the price or whatever it is. At the like when I go to get it, I'm like, oh, never mind. There's something else I want instead for that price.
I would recommend
every time I see
third
it
game instead.
Every time I see it though, I'm like, this is right up my alley of like goofy horror stuff. Like I don't like I love my like actual like atmospheric horror movies that really actually scare me. But also like reason I love Halloween stuff is actually it's like your classic 1950s kind of hand-drawn ghosts, and a lot of that stuff kind of looks like that in this. And there's some comedy in it too, clearly. Like the one ghost can't go through the one wall and he like bonks his head or whatever. So it's a cute little thing, and I'm like, man, I should need to get one of these for this October and just play it. Just even if it's
I'm
once,
sure you can get Luigi's Mansion 3 on a sale. It's a better looking game than what this trailer showed for this HD port. Although I will say, like, more work has certainly gone into this HD port than the Donkey Kong one, at least from what we can tell, because like that character model of Luigi in and of itself is much higher polygon count than what the 3DS would be doing. Especially at the resolution 3DS games were, you wouldn't have been able to see that many polygons, so they would have cut back even if they could do this. So it looks like it's more than just an HD port, but we shall see. I have no interest in getting it because I never played any of them. But I always think it's cool that Luigi actually has a series for himself. Next
he deserves it.
The new Denpa Men.
Another Animal Crossing game.
Yeah, which I didn't realize was an Animal Crossing. Like, the Denpa Men were like 3DS download games, and I recognize these little freaks, but I thought it was
they're like weirdly like
I don't know what I thought the game was.
They're like the Mii's, but then like also like something else I've seen before, and I can't tell what it is. But definitely a little weird. Like if I saw these dudes, I imagine they'd be really tiny and trying to get into my fridge, and then I'd be like, shoo.
yes.
Go away.
You'd wave a broom at them.
But I don't want to touch them because I'll turn into a fucking one of them. I don't know.
I will say I really like the logo for this for two reasons. One reason is just the colors and the way they have it look. But I also love that the word "new" is set as a speech bubble from the little Denpa Men D's face. But you can also kind of look at it and as if it's saying the Denpa Men knew. What did you know?
Like, they know. They know things.
Because there's a satellite dish coming out. Like
I know.
I just want to see someone Photoshop a K in front of that new. The fuck do these guys know?
Yeah, I see that. It definitely gives me like a early 2000s of like podcast about UFOs or something. Like that's you know what I mean? Like
oh my god, the Denpa Men totally sounds like a UFO conspiracy podcast.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, but like from 2003, and it's like three guys, and like they won't say their names.
Yep.
They go by key names or
Alpha, Beta, and Charlie.
yeah.
Something stupid.
And then they just talk the news. We should do that one day. Next up, the new Denpa Men.
Next up, Metal Slug Attack Reloaded.
Hell
I
yeah,
think
dude.
this is a port of a mobile game, but still, it is. It looks like
cool.
it's a.
It looks like Metal Slug.
It looks like Metal Slug, but you're not playing it like a Metal Slug. It looks like you're selecting almost like a tower defense game.
It
You're
said tower
selecting-
defense in the direct, so that's what
Okay.
makes me interested in it because I like tower defense stuff. And if
I'm
it
sure
is a
you have a
mobile game, I'm
resource
okay
of like,
with that.
hey, this is how many points you have. Make a deck
Yeah.
with this many points. I'm sure like the big metal slugs themselves, the big tanks are probably worth a lot of a resource, and so you can't fill a whole deck with them. So you have to go around.
I'm okay
Now,
with it being based off a mobile game as long as what's nice about when they port to these
visually about
things,
it looked great.
when they port like mobile games over to like things like Switch or consoles or whatever, one benefit is that you get rid of a lot of the gotcha shit, right? Where
Right.
you know what I mean? Where
yeah.
you're like,
I didn't even think
you
about
don't have to
that.
watch-
This game might
you
have
don't have
just
to-
tried to sell you dudes.
yeah, you're like, oh, you got to watch 3 ads to get the new Metal Slug
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
week or whatever.
This
You know
game
what I
is-
mean?
I can see this being maybe $20 to $30 and probably has anything that they would have sold you on. Yeah, it's not Metal Slug Tactics. Still waiting for that to come out.
That might be fun to do, at
That
least on
looked
stream.
awesome. Years ago that was announced. So next
We're Metal
up,
Slug fans for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Metal Slug 3 is a personal favorite of mine. That's
When we played that to this day, I feel like my thumb never recovered.
because you really are just hammering down, and the
Yeah, yeah.
animation of Metal Slug's really great just to see.
Yeah.
it's
We
so
played
great
the
looking.
whole game in one shot, and it was just
Yeah.
like, I remember it was like around the second to last level. I'm like, Ethan, I don't know if I can physically go anymore. Like it's like I'm starting to.
You
Like I
will.
switched to like my pointer finger. I'm like just started.
You play guitar, your fingers are supposed to be chafed.
I'm better now.
And
I'm better now.
calloused.
I do use my thumb now, so it's like maybe Metal Slug is the reason that I went back. I went to the thumb. Who knows?
Fuck it. I'm sure we can do Metal Slug co-op on a stream pretty
Hell
easily.
yeah.
All right. After that was Darkest Dungeon 2 as a Switch announcement. I imagine this was already on an early access Steam thing because I've seen people talk about this. Maybe I'm wrong.
The first one I've had on my wish list for a very long time, and it's been on sale, and I just never got it. But it does look up my alley. So yeah, RPG, but with gothic shit.
Big roguelike
that's-
game. This is
That's my shit.
a famous roguelike. It's up your alley. It does not up my alley, personally, but it looks like it's obviously fun. Like this is one of those things where like a lot of roguelikes are like this.
There's a
Spelunky
cool
even,
section where they
I look
showed
at
in
them like
this
this
where
is
there's
obviously very fun.
there's a section they showed in this where there's like fucking you're driving a hearse, and I'm like, yep, that's all I need to see.
Oh yeah, yeah.
'Cause-
That visually looked very cool.
Because
because
I've
it's like card based.
I've said for a couple years now, after I went to a Halloween parade and they had a hearse part of the parade, I'm like, man, I want to be one of those people. I want to own a fucking hearse just so I can be in the hearse parade. So this will be my closest to my dream. Yeah, maybe I'll get this for Switch because I think it's one of those games that like I wish list on Steam, but then like I don't really play too many games on Steam as much anymore. So it's like, do I just get it for Switch where I know I'll play it on my next airplane or long trek,
Absolutely. Next up, Nintendo Switch Online's retro game stuff got a couple updates. 4 Swords plus A Link to the Past is one of them. Metroid Zero Mission, one of the best games ever. I love that game. So I guess if you haven't played that before, I don't know if the Game Boy Advance emulator on Switch is good or not. I assume it is fine. So it's a really, really good game. Legitimately perfect, in my opinion. And then a couple N64 games, Perfect Dark, which is another Microsoft currently owned IP that they're like, yeah, sure. Rare made this game after they made GoldenEye 007. A lot of the lineage on that shooting is
Perfect Dark. I'm
and-
just 100% basing this off of the picture I see. Is it some like Lara Croft kind of knockoff? What is
You're a it's got aliens, it's got like spy shit in it. And yes, you do play as a woman. And I'm surprised that you didn't know this because the worst types of capital G gamers out there real upset because guess what? Microsoft is making a new Perfect Dark. They announced this years ago, and they had a trailer at the Xbox showcase event, and by golly, she doesn't look like Barbie. They're transvestigating what's her name from Perfect Dark,
man,
because she has a chin.
the
You know
hell?
what?
This is
I'm gonna
why
put a photo.
Xbox
I'm
is
gonna put the
losing.
photo up on the stream right here, And Devin, I want you to look this up. Perfect Dark Xbox Showcase. There is a shot that people are like of her jawline, and people are like, "This is a man," and blah blah blah. I'm gonna tell you this right now, guys out there. There are people that were maybe preteens in the 80s or 90s that have seen an action movie where either the main character or a side character looks like this woman, and then that's where they had their sexual awakening. So I find it crazy that there are people that are like, she's ugly, she looks like a man, she doesn't look like a woman.
She looks like a normal woman.
And she looks cool, and that frightens them.
And she looks cool. Yeah, she has a gun. At least the one frame I'm looking at, she has a gun. Some bright lights behind her.
Probably an edit. I hope I didn't.
They do have the bisexual lighting going on, though.
Okay.
So I guess it's extra
That
woke.
new Perfect Dark looks really cool because guess what? It's like an immersive sim looking game like Deus Ex or Prey. So that looks cool to me. So this is the original one that's on Nintendo 64 along with Turok. What's interesting about these is that it's a separate app. It's not the Nintendo 64 Nintendo Switch Online app. They have to make a separate rated 17 plus app that's currently just those two games. That's very funny to me.
We should play Perfect Dark on Xbox 360 whenever this one comes out, new one, so that we know the lore.
Yeah, because there was
and we can come to our own conclusions.
And then there was a sequel. I thought there was a remake of it on 360 as well. But
we'll play one of them just so we know, and then we can come to our own conclusions. We won't let the woke mob tell us what to feel or whatever.
Next up, an NIS ass-looking NIS game, Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero. Could not give less of a shit of this. They make a series
cool
called
pirate
Disgaea.
emblem, but that's about it.
This art style never gets me. I find it very.
It's because you don't like cute shit.
But it's
you need things like Perfect Dark.
Okay, this is a type of company where their mascot is a penguin that steals panties and puts them on his head. So
really,
yes. Prinny is his name. So whatever. I'm not interested in any of this. But like whatever. This might be fun. They didn't show anything that I found particularly fun in this game. Next up, a huge banger, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection arcade classics, as opposed to I don't know how many of them weren't in arcade.
Fuck, there's
unless you're talking Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Yeah, this is huge. These games have not been ported to consoles since a couple of them were on the 360 and got pulled, digitally again. They got pulled years
That's
later.
what I was asking earlier, where I'm like, I didn't know if this is supposed to be like,
this is
huge.
My
god or not. So
yeah. These Capcom collections are generally pretty good, but it's literally just, it doesn't need to be like something like a crazy remake or anything, but just like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in particular is considered one of the best fighting games of all time. It's a crazy 3-on-3 game with like a shit ton of characters in it. It's where you get famous memes like Iron Man's Infinite and whatnot on the internet. But just being able to play this legally on anything, is I say anything, but it's not coming to Xbox, which is weird. It's PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. But very
not
cool
PS5?
Nonetheless. I mean, because what's it going to be the difference on a PS5 version? So they just do PS4 so that it's just one
30. You get, instead of 60 FPS, you get 61.
These are CPS 2.
These are the things you need if you're going to get to the top. No, it looks cool.
This key art's awesome looking.
Oh yeah,
all of them.
I love how Cyclops, our friend of the show, Tom Wachowski, doing the good old Dylan, you son of a bitch, with what's his name there,
with Ryu there. Yeah, because that was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I think might have been from Street Fighter Cross X-Men, maybe.
So why are they fighting? Do they ever say that?
I have no idea. I don't think it matters. Also, yeah,
why are they beefing?
2 created original characters. There's a big cactus man. There's a pirate lady, and like a monkey girl, or like these original characters in that. Yeah, and you look in the here, you see Spider-Man and Morrigan, the succubus from Darkstalkers.
Venom's in it. Tom Hardy's
and
in it.
He's blue. Venom's blue in Marvel vs. Capcom, which is always cool. He's like a light blue, blue and light blue. But just real quick about the Spider-Man thing, because I sent you that Spider-Man art.
Yeah.
Peak designed for me for Spider-Man. You see him with Morrigan there, the succubus lady from Capcom's Darkstalkers. I don't remember what the circumstance is, but it's a Win quote. I think maybe if they're on the same team, where Spider-Man says, "I hope MJ doesn't mind if I'm home late tonight," with her right next to him with her cleavage out. But yeah, very funny. Anyway,
I mean,
I'm
or
excited
Black Cat.
for this.
Black Cat too. He has a relationship with Spider-Man.
I don't know if she's
Spider-Man's complicated. Spider-Man.
This was definitely of the era where there's a lot of X-Men, so they take up a huge spotlight in the Marvel side. I
see Doctor Doom is there. Is Doctor Doom playable?
Oh yeah.
Doctor Doom playable?
Yeah.
Okay. And Thanos too?
I guess. I don't really remember, but probably. Actually, you know what? Yes, he is.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
One Capcom character I don't think has been in a Marvel vs. Capcom is Regina, so maybe you don't want this after all.
Maybe we'll have that fake quote that I always thought Thanos said, now this will be fun. As yeah. Now this will be fun.
Next up, a legitimate highlight for me, a huge game in my opinion.
They could have ended it here, and I think it was like, I feel like this could have easily still been like, you know what I mean?
Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Look at all our friends just having so much fun.
The biggest Mario Party they claim has the most mini games they claim.
500 mini games.
Wouldn't surprise me. Looks great, legitimately. Looks like it's a lot of fun. I like the gimmicky motion stuff for some of these mini games. I think that's what always makes Mario Party kind of cool. Mario Party 6 on the GameCube, because there were 4 of those games on GameCube. Mario Party 6 came with a microphone that plugged into the memory card slot. And there were microphone games where you would like tell a bunch of Goombas to like run away in certain directions from the other players trying to catch them. So like I always like Mario Party's gimmicks are always cool. To me, it's almost like Nintendo comes out with a gimmick for their console. Mario Party is going to do something cool with it. That's like, you know. And so just seeing this again, like I know you have Super Mario Party you were saying. I actually don't have that one. And they came out with like Mario Party Superstars after that, which is like a best of remaking classic boards and stuff. So it's not like a new. This is a new. So Jamboree is a great name.
I think the biggest thing in this one, which I was actually kind of I like it, but I'm also like, how long in the game's gonna take? Where it said you can compete up to like 20 players online. I'm like, how long are these turns, dude? Like it's gonna be like 20 minutes before my turn goes. I might as well go get a drink.
What I think is going on, and it looks like it's a special mode, and then in that, literally looks like a loop race track, not the actual like race car board that they showed, but it looked like it was just a single loop, and it said first to 5 laps wins. So I think, and it looked like there were mini games where it's like everyone in there, like certainly more than 4 players. But I don't know if it's a lot of asynchronous stuff of like a lot of people are going at the same time or whatnot, because like like a 50-turn Mario Party game with obviously 4 players, because you can't play with less than 4. It'll throw in NPCs.
That
takes 4 hours. And that's the only way, in my opinion, to like really experience Mario Party, because like those games are so goddamn slow in terms of like the board game stuff. Where it's like, you know, if you play a 20-turn, there might be a person that has maybe 3 stars. Most people are gonna have maybe 1. But you get 50 turns and etc. I'm excited for this. I might actually get it. Interesting.
Main issue is they assume I have friends. Just kidding, I do. Maybe I'll play with them.
Hey man, as a kid, I rented Mario Party 5, and I played that by myself for hours. And then I had 99 stars or something crazy like that in this thing, and NPC Yoshi landed on a thing where he swapped stars with me, and then I lost, and I played for hours just to lose.
Oh, I thought you had like
very upset.
some like Beanie Babies like that you would play for him. That'd be me. I'd be like, you know, Beanie Babies are my friends, and I'm gonna have them do things.
Interesting. Interesting.
You know, play games.
I lived
with
in an
you.
area that didn't really have a neighborhood with other kids, so like I was playing by myself a lot.
You're
Next up,
telling me.
certainly someone who's playing by herself. Legend of
That's for
Zelda:
sure.
Echoes of Wisdom. This is cute. This is
That implies she has none.
yeah, right. She just has an echo of wisdom. There's none in there.
Yep.
Skull empty. This is a brand new Zelda game, but it has the same art style as the Link to the Past, or not Link to the Past, Link's Awakening remake on Switch, which is made by Grezzo, which is that company I mentioned earlier that I thought was making a Donkey Kong game after they made Link's Awakening. This is their game. It clearly is, unless Nintendo's like, no, give us your technology, and someone else is going to make this. This is most certainly them. Excuse me. Really cool idea for, like a lot of games will be like, oh, you're finally playing as this character. Like Shadow the Hedgehog, for instance. Shadow gets his own game. How is it going to play? Maybe mostly similar to Sonic. Okay, so doesn't feel that different. For this, it's like a different character is going to have a completely different type of game that they're going to play as. I think that's cool. I like the idea that it looks like puzzles are very open-ended because you have a lot of tools. Just
It definitely
inherent.
looks to me like I haven't played any of these, but like Breath of the Wild or the latest one where they're trying to give Zelda games are now known for like your creativity of figuring out puzzles as opposed to the original ones being more like there was still puzzles I know, but like still there's
Those had a
more
set
combat
solution and
yeah,
a lot of
or set
combat. Yeah,
solution.
yeah. Yeah, because it looks like, your only way to fight other enemies is to use enemies, or it looks like maybe if you don't have one yet, she was throwing a rock. So like that looks like that's probably more.
Once you find a
puzzle
gun in the
combat-y.
game, though, it's kind of over in my opinion.
I've seen
though,
so
if I
many
mean.
memes of literally that idea. I should copy a gun. I've seen the excuse me, he said no pickles, but it's Zelda holding a table up at McDonald's and Link's behind her. But yeah, very cool. And they could have
It
ended it
does
here,
look cute.
but they
Could have
kept
ended it
going.
here.
Yeah, it's got that like porcelain, model look with like super zoomed in miniatures. Yes, this is where they also announced Nintendo Switch Lite, and as we said, it's gold and it's got the Triforce on the back. Congrats, you sheep! You got another. I don't know. I don't want to be too mean, but like, this didn't look that interesting to me. The front
wonder how
has
many
a
people-
small Triforce, but like, who cares?
I wonder how many. I know a lot of people have that tattooed, but I want to know if anyone has this exact one where it has the little diamonds in it.
Oh,
It's like no, I don't want just any of them. I want the Hyrule edition tattoo
sure.
right above my butt.
Yeah. After
Like a
that,
tramp stamp.
Just Dance again.
You need to come out with one of these. I mean, these are guaranteed.
They
money.
come out every single year, and they're codes in a box, so it's digital only. Even if you get a physical copy, there's no.
I
disc.
like, by the way, they like led with like here's 4 songs that we hope you'll know.
Sure.
By the way, like I get like part of the game is like not necessarily always the music, but I just thought it was funny. Like Ariana Grande, and then these other people I think you'll know, and I didn't know them.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny.
Also,
Lady
I
Gaga,
didn't know
was
this.
one of them too.
They have a subscription service for extra Just Dance songs. And if
Mm.
that's in the other ones, why do you even need to get this for 40 new songs if you can play the other one that's got hundreds because you own a subscription? I don't know. They're getting their money somewhere. Whatever. Next
It kind
up,
of looks
Lego
like
Horizon.
I was gonna say though. I was gonna say the like aesthetic of it though. It in a good way. It screams like early 2000s music videos of like the green screen, like in a good way. I think they did a good job though of like visually of making it feel like you're in a music video.
They've had it a stack for a while. It's definitely unique. And Sony has the movie rights to it. So
One day we'll get it.
maybe. Lego Horizon Adventures. This was announced at the PlayStation State of... No, this was announced at the Summer Games Fest. I'm sorry. Then it was also announced for Nintendo Switch. Looks cute.
It's kind of crazy. It looks actually pretty. Like I think if you want to make it look as best as it could, you probably are playing this on PlayStation or PlayStation.
That's also coming to Steam as well. All three of those day and date. So,
but it does look pretty. But I think we talked about earlier. It's like, why not just play Horizon?
And there are a lot of people who said, I don't like Horizon. Maybe I'll like this instead. So who knows? Yeah, I'm not a big Lego gaming guy.
The last Lego one I played was Lego Incredibles, and it sucked. It had no soul when I was playing. I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be like cute, and then like I don't know, it just felt, I don't know, just like something was missing from it. I don't know.
Lego games seem to be like the current, or at least at a certain time, like this is what you did instead of trying to make your own movie tie-in for an animated thing. Is like, no, you just license it out to the Lego Corporation, to Warner Brothers, because I think they own the Lego video game rights for like they make. Like
there was charm to the Lego Star Wars, you know what I mean? Where like it wasn't.
I
just
played
the movies.
that's the last one I ever played. But it was back on the GameCube.
Yeah.
It was.
I played the Batman one too, and that one was pretty fun.
Okay. I'm Batman. After that, the kiddie game Stray is coming to Switch. It looks extremely compromised. I wouldn't recommend playing it on Switch.
I must say, get this game on PlayStation, folks. Even if you have a PS4 Pro, get it on there, and it's like 12 hours. I'm really bummed that when we first got it, we played it, and then for a reason just never came back to it, because I wish I just played it through. But we did play it through eventually. Once the second time, I'm like, oh, we're just gonna keep playing. And the game's really cute, and just fidelity-wise, just beautiful, beautiful game, and has a lot of cool set pieces. So I get it though. If the Switch is what you have, and you really want to play it,
a lot of people have Switches, so and not other things. So,
but I think this is very much a sit on the couch with the lights off. Play with your. Play by yourself or play it with even family or whatever. It's a very charming game.
Yeah. Next up, Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game. Here's your Animal Crossing again.
I was gonna say
in a good way.
In my notes too, I had, and once again, like we talked about how Farmaga, being kind of like a really like specific target audience. I think this one's even more specific for the people who like listen to like the
y'all want to be a hobbit.
Yeah, like you listen to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, like lo-fi remix or whatever on YouTube that always pops up on my recommendation section. It's like that, but also you love Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. And I can't hate though, because it does look cute. I don't think I'm gonna play it.
I like the designs of the hobbits.
This was a good call as opposed to another game called Gollum, which was like, who's the target audience here? All the money in for that should have been for this, because I feel like this is a good niche thing to like actually like support. So I hope this game does well, because I think I want more like fun.
I think it
Lord
will,
because
stuff. This looks like a cozy farming game. Those sell like crazy on Switch. That's why a lot of Nintendo Directs will have 3 or 4 of them in them. Yeah. They sell there, and obviously on PC as well. Those are the two main.
Yeah. I want more like Lord of the Rings things that isn't all about just like the books, or like I said, I probably won't play it, but like I think Lord of the Rings has a lot more potential.
The world
stuff that you can do.
This is that. This is just you're a hobbit and you have a hobbit town. Cool. After that, it was Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. So these were 2 Nintendo DS games, spin-offs from Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, where instead you are his rival, Miles Edgeworth. Looks cool. Never played any of these games. One day I will go through them all.
I'm trying to do the point.
Oh, yeah.
Objection!
Yeah. I look at this key art and I see a baddie in the bottom right corner with the craziest bangs I've ever seen a woman have. And she's telling me to shut up.
That's
so,
the issue,
I'm
Ethan.
interested.
That's the issue, Ethan. She did it. And you gotta put her in jail.
Oh, no!
No.
Cool. From what people have said, this is, I guess, finally all of the Ace Attorney games have had remakes in form of collections, and
I didn't know he was a detective, by the way. He has to have a lot of experience and a huge he gotta get paid well. If you're doing both of those jobs at the same time. Ooh.
Yeah, he's a prosecutor and also an investigator. It doesn't make much sense to me. Seems like a confliction of interest, but I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played any of these games. All I know is Almost Christmas Isn't Christmas. That's the only Ace. I just dropped a can. That's the only Ace Attorney thing I know. Okay. After that, by the creators of Danganronpa, and I could tell because I hate this art style so much. It looks so ugly. These characters look so ugly. A game called The 100-Line Last Defense Academy. Looks like
The enemies in
tactics
this,
game.
I just look. I don't know, just very blobby and not in a good way. Just very like
And bland.
not inspiring and bland. Yeah.
Like, it looks like they're, like, running away at the beginning, and then one of them pops up. I'm like, y'all could just punch this thing, and it would die. That's what it looks like, you know what I mean? It doesn't look threatening, or even like a creepy, ironic, you know.
I
It's
do
cute,
like
but deadly.
I'll give them credit for having a weird, long last name that's really hard to say in one go and not memorable. The 100-Line Last Defense Academy. It's like, I'm never going to remember that, but I respect it.
I love long titles. This doesn't tickle my fancy, and I hate the logo because the 100-Line is illegible.
Yeah.
In the logo itself.
I appreciate the effort. At least that's where I'm coming from. Where I
hate
can't
the
wait,
character
for
designs.
fans to acronym it. You know what I mean? Yo, how far have you gotten in
LDA?
LLDA, dude? How far did you get into that, dude? It gets really good
probably
after
call
the
it
30-hour
Last
mark.
Defense Academy or 100-Line. You know, I don't think
No,
anyone's
the
gonna
real
call it
ones,
the
the
full
real ones do the full acronym.
Real ones, no.
Okay.
Next up, a Square Enix game, like any other Square Enix game. Here's a remake of a thing, and we're announcing it here in Nintendo
talking
Direct,
about-
and we will never market it again, and we will ask, why did this sell very well? Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven.
Even worse long title somehow than the last one, and also a somehow worse logo. Where I don't like the spray painty kind of font with. Then you're just like Revenge of the Sith.
7. Yeah, yeah.
Looking
these
fun. And
Saga
then the 2
games-
gives me Street Fighter. Like, I think they're like, I don't know. It's just the vibes are just conflicting for me. I don't like the choice there. But
The Saga games are interesting. They are spin-off no, they're not a spin-off of Final Fantasy. Early Saga games in America were called Final Fantasy Legend, I think, just because they're like, it's the brand that sells here. Let's just rename the game to make it seem like it's Final Fantasy. So they're not a spin-off of Final Fantasy, but cool. Guess what? A Saga game, Emerald Beyond, I think it was called, came out like a month or two ago. Like, with no fanfare. A brand new one. And Square, they're full of idiots. They need to actually hire marketers to be like, this is why this game is cool and important. Because just throwing it into a state of play or Nintendo Direct is not the only marketing you should do.
You can hire me because you talked about Lady Gaga for Just Dance. You could have picked up the phone again and done, hey, can you do like a remix of and call it Saga?
Right, sure.
Lady Saga. And then you can do the whole Saga, ooh la la. Come on. That's already better marketing. People, even if it's cheesy, people will remember it.
The album is
Let Me Cook.
15 years old.
Let Me Cook. And guess what? You know what isn't 15 years old? Her movie coming out soon.
Okay.
Joker 2. I'll be there.
Oh, right.
I can't wait, dude. I actually really can't wait for that movie because it's gonna fucking
I hated
piss
Joker.
off.
But
They're gonna piss off so many of the Alpha Bros who
Exactly.
somehow found him to be like the opposite of what he was supposed to represent. And it's gonna be really funny when they go in that theater and they start fucking singing like
those are the
a
type of people
Queen
that got
song.
upset that Parasite won Best Picture over Joker. Come on.
I like Joker, but yeah, Parasite was a lot better.
I thought it was pretentious as fuck. I thought it was.
You just don't like the laughs. I get it.
You're right. You're right. Final announcement of the show. The highlight for me, finally, for the first time in over 7 years, we're seeing anything besides a logo.
I love how
and the
I like
logo's
how you
different.
say 7 years, and I'm like, because when I saw 2017, I was like, that's not that long ago. I'm like, oh,
That was
fucking
7 years
7
ago.
years.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We saw some gameplay, and yes, the subtitle Beyond is in there. Looks beautiful for a Switch game, but it doesn't surprise me because Metroid Prime Remastered, which came out last year, for an MSRP of $40 for a Switch game by Nintendo is insane. I highly recommend it. That game was gorgeous. 60 frames per second, beautiful art. It's 900p, which is a higher resolution than a lot of Switch games tend to be. That game was gorgeous. I recommend it. And this looks like it's literally using that tech while they were upgrading their engine and working on this game. They obviously had a Splinter team set off to remake the first game on the original code base with the new graphics. And all that tech fed back into this. It looks fantastic, in my opinion. Really, really great. To the point where a lot of people are debating whether or not it's a Switch 2 title. It is very clearly Nintendo Switch 1. Especially because, like, you know, people have done pixel counts and whatnot. Like, it looks like Metroid Prime Remastered.
They can always like do some sort of buff to it for Super Nintendo,
and I think they will. I would not be surprised if the this game has a release date of 2025. I would not be surprised if it's near launch of the Super Switch or maybe at launch, and I would not be surprised if the whole thing is like, hey, even if they're not doing any better textures or anything like that. 60 frames per second, just like the Switch 1 version, 1080p, but because the Super Switch is rumored to use a version of NVIDIA's DLSS, because NVIDIA's chipset is what powers the Switch, that they'll be able to super sample and up-res the games that way, using machine learning. So, a lot of Super Switch ports or hopefully free upgrades. God, I don't want to have to buy some of these games again. Even if it's a $10 thing, I might not for all of them. I can easily see it be like, yeah, so it's cool. It's our base resolution of 1080p, but, if you're playing it on your television, it's going to be upsampled to like 4K or something, maybe, if they're able to do that. It looks gorgeous. Yeah. What did you think?
No, it does. No, yeah, it looks cool. I mean, as someone who I never played a Metroid game. Well, no, I think I tried one of the NES ones on the, when we were talking about the Tecmo Bowl or whatever, and I was just going through a bunch of them.
Very
just to
hard,
see what clicks.
And I can see why anyone would bounce off of it.
But I've always liked these types ones where it's 3D and first person, because it reminds me of, I know it's probably not maybe a fair comparison, but like Doom, where it has that kind of you're running around and shooting, but also a little bit of Halo in terms of the sci-fi-ness of it. So I think it's something I'd be interested in. I think it's one of those things that like when it comes out, we'll see kind of thing. Because I know that one other one, I think, was it like they announced a couple of years ago, I think, that kind of had a similar...
Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
Which is also amazing, and I highly recommend it. Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the logo a lot. Very like... They found a way to make it feel retro, but also modern at the same time, so I think they did a good job of it.
It looks intriguing to me. I saw that, and I'm like, is this like some sort of black hole thing? And then someone on Twitter's like, that's a black hole, baby. And then people were digging up that
it has the metallicness of like a UFO to me too, like a kind of planetary, like something that like isn't of our Earth, you know what I mean? So like it works,
Yeah, but it also looks like it's being warped and bent towards the middle too, which I think is cool. But a few years ago, maybe even a decade ago, I think it's the director of this game or producer or something like that, from Nintendo himself, from themselves, suggested the idea of a single planet again for Metroid Prime, with time travel being a gameplay focus, because they've done the first game is one planet, and for a 3D action game, granted first-person shooter, but still 3D action, I struggle to think of an earlier game that had, like, a level design, world design, entirely huge, like, not open world, but, like, the entire thing is this one interconnected set of almost level-like things. Like what you expect from, like, Dark Souls or Bloodborne.
Wouldn't Resident Evil kind of fit that
bill? But not, like, on this scale, I guess is what I mean, where, like, there are definitely different areas, very cool. And then Metroid Prime 2 was on a different planet. That whole thing was like, oh, there's a dark version of the world, but that got too confusing for people. And Metroid Prime 3 was like, smaller world, but there's 3 of them. So to see the idea potentially of them going back to the idea of like one world and 2 maybe more different times I'm interested to see if they're going to be able to land it, because this is made by Retro Studios. Their last game was a decade ago. If you don't count Metroid Prime Remastered, their last game was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U in 2014.
Let's go.
I'm sure they're the team that ported it to Switch. So, that was like 2018, Metroid Prime Remastered in 2023. But like, after Metroid Prime 2, most of them after Metroid Prime 3, a lot of key people left the company that are like some people that you might credit the success of the game to. Some of these people went and formed a studio called Armature, where they've been basically a port house, and they made their own Metroid-like games. A couple key people went to Microsoft and are in charge, or key people at 343 in charge of Halo. That's why when Halo 4 came out, and a lot of people were like, wow, this looks very inspired by Metroid Prime. It's like, gee, the main people on this game worked on the 3 Metroid Prime games. Yeah. That's why.
They've always kind of looked, I mean, generally speaking, very generally speaking, I know I don't want people to get mad, but like that, to me, like at first glance, Metroid and Halo kind of been in the same ballpark for me of like, first person shooter. Like that's why I put Doom in there as well. I would argue Doom is sometimes more science fiction than it pretends to be. I mean, I know it takes place in Mars, so it's like immediately science fiction in that way, I guess, but it's much more like trying to be like hell and horror, you know what I mean? But for me, I've always kind of put them all in the same kind of, just as someone who's more on the outlooks of playing those games for the most part. I've always kind of put them, which isn't a bad thing. I think, like I said, that's a very video gamey thing is, aliens or whatever, you're shooting them.
And
so I think I'm interested in the sense fantastic. Of the gunplay. I mean, I like that kind of stuff. So, well, I'm curious to see more, and then probably read reviews, and then also see where I'm at in video game life.
Here's the thing. Metroid is one of my favorite franchises ever. I think I said this at the time, maybe on the podcast, maybe didn't. When Metroid Dread came out in 2021, I want to say.
I think that sounds right.
I gotta replay it again. I haven't played it since it came out. I played through it twice, once on easy, or once on medium, once on hard. It dawned on me just how much fun I was having. Like, I wasn't expecting this to be like revelatory for me. A team from Spain called Mercury Steam was hired by Nintendo to make it, and they nailed it. Like, they nailed it in such a way where, like, you might look at some franchises that are like, oh, this is how I remember this old franchise. This is the class. Like, Castlevania is a great example. A famous Castlevania game is Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation. So anytime anyone makes a throwback game that's inspired by Castlevania, that's the one that they are inspired by, that they point to. That's the one they emulate. But there were 6 more like that afterwards, and the main dude behind Castlevania kept reinventing how and like moving that genre forward. Like, there's really none of them, these indie games inspired by Castlevania, that are like the last one that was made on the DS. Right. Except for when that guy quit Konami and he made his own game called Bloodstained, it's a continuation of that. My point being that Metroid Dread was a continuation of the freaking Game Boy Advance Metroid games, the last 2D ones. So, like, that team really got it. I have no doubt that, I don't know what a ship of Theseus the state of Retro Studios is right now, but playing Metroid Prime Remastered on the graphics side of things, I could tell that they nailed it. And looking at this, I can tell that they nailed it, whoever they are currently. So I have no doubt that it's going to be awesome. And I will say this: we had an idea, because I know one of your favorite games of all time is God of War, of me playing through that because I never finished the 2018 one. I'm willing to do the same with you with Metroid Prime 1, whether it be the GameCube original or remastered. We'd have to get a capture card for you for that. Figure that out in the future. That is a thing I would like to throw out in kind after God of War, maybe in tandem. Maybe we would hop back and forth between them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those games that, like, half these games is like, if we just streamed it, even if it's a one-time thing, like, just so I have an idea to, like, oh, if I like this, I can play it more. If not, I got it and I understand what it is. But like, I've seen. I remember we've played a little bit of. I think I don't remember which one. Back in when we were much younger, one of the Metroid games, and it was a 3D one. I think it was on the GameCube.
2 had a weird multiplayer mode, and that's what
I think it. That's probably what we played. Yeah.
It was a really bad like deathmatch thing that they threw in there because Halo 2's multiplayer was going to be really big, and Nintendo was like, just make something.
Yeah.
There's
So
difference.
that's probably what
Halo's
I'm
online,
remembering. But
yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any like. I think it's one of those games once again where it's like we'll see. These things look cool. We'll definitely have time.
I will say this: I'm definitely going to be, whether it's on my own Twitch or maybe on the Sonic Movie Show's YouTube. I think I'd rather do it there. I am going to play through all of the Prime games again. There was one on the DS and one on the 3DS that I never really played.
Amazon Prime time.
So
Metroid Prime.
You know, I'm definitely going to be playing through them all again before Beyond.
Thank God Amazon Prime. Amazon didn't like trademark the word Prime, or else it'd be like Metroid Beyond.
Kind of like how Candy Crush Saga claimed that they own the trademark for Saga.
No,
Remember
we know
that?
who does own Saga, and it's romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Not Hellblade Senua's Saga.
No, I guess not.
Yeah. All right, that was the Nintendo Direct. I think the future of Nintendo's looking very bright. I was not expecting to have like 4 games coming out at the end of the year that I'm actually interested in getting. I've looked at the end of this year, I'm like, there's nothing. There's Sonic and nothing else. Perfect. I got games from last year to finish. Now here's a Mario Party and a Mario and Luigi and, I don't know, Fromage. I'm not interested in that. A freaking Zelda game, Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm like, I am interested in all of these, the big ones at the very least, so... It's cool to see like Nintendo be like, no, we're not dead. Yeah, the Switch successor's coming out, but
Metal
that doesn't
Slug's
mean we're not making games.
Metal Slug's coming out next Tuesday too.
Sweet. I wonder how much it is, and if it's on other things as well, because it's got trophies.
Let me see if I can Google it.
Big Nintendo episode, but I will play these games on PlayStation if available, if any of these. That's just the way I am. But I have grown to appreciate my Switch more.
No, this one's old.
But,
oh no, this one comes out June 18th. Did it already come out?
No, did it shadow drop on the day of the thing?
In the article,
Metal Slug Attack
Tuesday.
Reload is coming to Nintendo Switch on Tuesday. Surprise! I think that
it's out. It's on Steam. Yeah. Guess what? It's $10.
Perfect. I'm gonna get it on PlayStation, hopefully.
And guess what? All reviews 275, mostly positive.
There we go.
Does it have multiplayer?
I think the future of Nintendo is looking very bright.
Online PvP.
I'm hoping that Metroid Prime 4 and Zelda and some of these bigger Nintendo games get Super Switch versions, whatever that might entail. Because then because here's the thing I always have with the end of a Nintendo console's life, where it's like, why would I get this Nintendo game that's as far as my personal interests go, maybe B or C tier interest level? Why would I get one of these when it's gonna be unplayable on the next console, and it's gonna be, why would I bother? The end of a Nintendo console's life generally has a lot of weird small things. There's a lot of Kirby games that pop up, that type of stuff. Not any big hitters, except Breath of the Wild straddles the Wii U and the Switch, sure. But no one bought that on Wii U. People looked at that as a Switch game, I'm more interested now in some of these because I get the feeling that there would be some sort of upgraded version of some of these on the Super Switch. So it actually feels like, hey, if I buy, what's a good example? If I buy
Mario Odyssey.
Well, no, buy a game coming out soon, this Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom. There's a pretty good chance that the Super Switch will have some sort of maybe.
I was gonna say Mario Odyssey. I can
1080p
100% being remastered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For such a
for
good
something, but
Mario
I mean for something I already bought to be hey, it's a little bit better now. That happens on a PlayStation and an Xbox, but hopefully that happens with Nintendo. So it'd be okay, yeah, I am interested in this Mario Party, not just because I want a Mario Party, but because, it might get a little bit more life on the next console. It might not die immediately, because Nintendo is very much they drop their consoles fast. It's dead. We got the new one out now. You know what I mean? So. What about you?
Yeah, I
How are
guess
you thinking about this whole thing?
we were talking about the console war, and feeling like Xbox is pretty much has his all of its borders surrounded. And I guess, Switch is always no one ever talks about them, Nintendo in the console war, but they've been building up an army in Switzerland, and are ready to maybe when, Sony's distracted finishing off Microsoft is going to come in and try to maybe do a surprise attack. No, I think Nintendo's always been, ever since the Switch came out, I think has been satisfied with being like, hey, we don't need to compete with Sony in its own game. We're just gonna do our thing and have just solid things. Yeah, we'll have the occasional big thing like this one will be Metroid, for example, or even Zelda, right? We'll have those, but yeah, we'll have our fun like. We know that a lot of our audience loves the cozy games like the fucking Hobbit game, and they know that Animal Crossing sold well. We don't even give a fuck if there's basically copycat versions of that. You know what I mean? Like, we're totally okay, like, selling those on our platform. Then you will have the occasional retro games with twists like Metal Slug, but then you also do have, like, the NES thing where it's just, like, maybe a very niche group of people, but, they're okay with having that, on their platform. I think they know their audiences at this point, and they know that they don't need to compete with the Sony and PlayStation when it comes to like Last of Us and Spider-Man. They know that they
Right.
probably can't compete with them, and I think they're okay with that. I think in the past they tried with, like you said, with the Metroid multiplayer is an example that I didn't know, but like I don't know. I feel like in the past with like even during the Wii era, right? Like that's the time they started shifting towards being like, oh, people kind of like our casual stuff. We don't need to, we have Mario, for, I guess, the more harder games, right? But, like, people like our casual stuff, Everyone owned a Wii, everyone owns a Switch now, pretty much. So we have the devices out in the wild. We just need to give them stuff to continue to be interested enough, and we'll just keep selling. They're not in Xbox's shoes where like Xbox feels like they need to reinvent themselves every 3 years because they're always trying to compete with PlayStation. And maybe they're like we've talked about on that Xbox show. Maybe Xbox is starting to find a new identity, but will it work? We don't know yet.
Right. Xbox's new identity is because they own half the industry now. It feels like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it always feels like Xbox always felt like it was constantly trying to catch up to even have games at all. PlayStation seemed a little bit ahead on that. But like all three of these main console manufacturers, they all have their own strategies. Right now, Microsoft is like Game Pass still and getting a lot of games on there to get you to buy that. PlayStation still is big story-driven single-player games, and now they're also trying to do live service stuff as forever titles. Nintendo's strategy has been, like I said, a third of their lineup is always like remakes, ports, remasters, new spins on a game that they can very cheaply make. Another third of it is AA budgeted games that they're selling for $60, which is healthy for the industry. That doesn't necessarily mean I buy them, but like they do sell. Most of Nintendo's franchises, I'm just going to say most, it might even be almost all, but most Nintendo franchises, their Switch iterations are become their best-selling ones. Millions of copies of games that you wouldn't expect, sell. And, a third of the last third is like new stuff that are, a little bit bigger, and they're like the things that get me excited, like a Mario Odyssey or Metroid Prime 4, right? The big key thing that Nintendo has as a luxury because of this kind of setup they've been doing over PlayStation and Xbox is they have games to sit and wait. They have games that are done, and they will wait to announce them, and then they'll announce them. Mario Odyssey is a great example. The report was that game was done when it was announced, ready to go. And then they waited because they didn't want it to compete with Zelda. They needed a fall game.
Games. They're kind of treating that not all of them, because I know Metroid Prime 4 here was announced, almost 7 years ago. But
difficult.
I wish more announcements were like that, where it is already done. Give me the Give me the music industry way of doing it, where it's, hey, the album's done, we finished it. Maybe they're doing, some mastering or whatever in the last process there, but we're printing out the CDs and the vinyl or whatever, and you can pre-save on Spotify, whatever. That's why I like music a lot, because I feel like the thing's done, and it's nothing's more exciting than like your favorite band or artist like dropping the first teaser, even if it's just like the cover of the album, like, oh, what is this gonna sound like, or oh, I think they're going this, you know what I mean, like. So I think that's pretty cool, and then that way you don't have to delay things too, because you're like, oh, we'll let the hype build, and you can really like plan out that marketing. Okay, we'll show the logo here, we'll show our first cinematic trailer here, we'll show our gameplay here.
They also use it to like fill in calendar gaps of like, we don't have a June game, let's put this out there. Like there are plenty of Switch games that have been done for maybe even up to 2 years before they're like, yeah, it's time to use it, we need a game out. I have one right here. This dropped last year out of the blue. Reports was that this was done and was in the works and done back maybe in even 2019. Everybody 1-2 Switch. Remember 1-2 Switch? Everyone's least favorite Nintendo Switch launch game? They made a sequel to that because guess what? 1-2 Switch sold almost 4 million copies. And so someone at Nintendo's like, you need to make a sequel because we can make a lot more copies. And like they struggled to hell and back trying to figure out what to do because no one actually liked 1-2 Switch. And so their thing was like, let's copy Jackbox so everyone's using phones. There's up to 100 players can do it. And like they kind of like just dropped it one day when they realized, hey, we don't really have, like, this game was on shelves in their warehouse done, and they were wondering like, can we like do anything with it? Who knows? But then there are things like Metroid Prime Remaster was a perfect example. There was reports that a port of all 3 of the Metroid Prime games, at one point they were so Metroid Prime 1 and 2 were GameCube, and 3 was a Wii game. Late in the Wii's life, they had a trilogy of all 3 of those on one Wii disc. 1 and 2 had 3's motion controls for shooting, so it was kind of like slightly, remade in that sense. There was rumors and heavy reports that a Switch HD port of that trilogy has been done and ready since 2018, and they were going to use it for marketing for Metroid Prime 4 when they feel like, okay, we're getting close, let's drop it. They've been holding on to that forever, and they probably scrapped it because we got Metroid Prime Remastered instead, and I wonder if they're going to do 2 and 3 after Prime 4 comes out. I kind of wish I could play, if they are going to make them before 4, so it feels cool, but still, like, they hold on to their stuff, and then they drop them when they need to, which is really healthy for them, because in the Wii U era, they were like what Microsoft is now, where they were struggling to they were like sprinting to the finish line just to throw a game out there, just to like feed the baby birds a little bit. See you in 6 months again for something you might like. They're in a much healthier position now. Fans might not like that they do this stuff. They might not like the idea of potentially paying $60 for an HD port of a 15-year-old Donkey Kong game from the Wii. But it's still going to sell millions of copies, and that's going to help like support their entire business, so that they're not like, we have 3 studios and we make 2 games every 5 years, like everyone else, it seems, because it's the only way to have it work. But
yeah,
all right,
agreed.
This was a fun episode here on the Sonic Movie Show. Hey, remember, guys, we're on youtube.com/@SonicMovieShow. Please check us out there. If you are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Music, or Audible, again, YouTube, please check us out. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the comments, and type in Nintendo. Just type the word Nintendo. I'm sure YouTube will flag that as bot activity, but do it anyway. I find it funny. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Sonic Movie Show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're kind of like splitting up how we kind of do the podcast a bit now. There'll be less newsy stuff, we're thinking, and maybe YouTube will have maybe more of that stuff in the future. But
you never know what the future holds. It's ever evolving. We're like we've been like an evolving like trilobite in the ocean for a while, and now we're finally thinking of maybe seeing what the oxygen's all about. Maybe get growing some
Right.
feet, some like 2 bare feet.
Just
and
slap
maybe
our legs
walking
on land
walking
and-
around,
Yeah.
see what happens.
I think
Yeah.
my analogy is we're like a shadow on the wall that morphs with the ever-changing
Oh,
light
wow,
of the
that's deep.
sun. Maybe we'll
That's
get a
deep.
trailer for for Shadow and Sonic 3.
Oh, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
They're like
All
really
right.
like the longer it goes, the more I'm like, they're gonna fucking delay the movie, aren't they?
Oh my God, I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you next time for another episode. Thanks again, and Nintendo out.
Slugging out, Metal Slug.